thank you very much for this wonderful panel. We will change a bit the assets and start soon with the keynote speeches. So I'm very, very happy that that this Meet the Ambassadors session could take place with such a distinguished panel. Most of the excellencies have got an extensive knowledge and profound view on the Middle East. So I'm very happy that this dialogue could take place, and it's also a sign that it's a continuation of this week-long seminar that you can see here during the summit, that you can really implement, that the dialogue goes on, that you can pose your questions and really, have this interaction. I think this is really the spirit of MEM Summit, to really, not only be a bubble of separating a seminar where it's really, as the rector said, it's a safe space, it's where you come together, but I think it's very, very important to have this exchange during the summit as well, and this is really the aim of MEM Summit. It has been changed from August to November, that's why it's a bit cold, so we apologize for that. But now I'm very, very happy to announce one of the highlights. So the first keynote speech of today. We also changed a little bit the format, so it's not during the weekend anymore, the whole day. It's a bit a shorter version, but I think nowadays we have to be also quite efficient with our resources. And I'm just trying to see, through the lights, if our distinguished, our very dear next keynote speaker is here again. I see a thumbs up. So I'm very happy to not only have a, distinguished public figure, but also a native from Lugano, a real Ticinese, who has been our great supporter from the beginning on. And I'm very, very happy to announce the next keynote speaker, His Excellency Ignazio Cassis, Federal Councillor of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I said not only a federal council, but native of Lugano. Very warm welcome, benvenuto, and a great supporter of MEM Summit from the beginning on. Benvenuto, Consigliere Federale.
Grazie. Grazie mille signora per questo caloroso ricevimento. Thank you so much for this very warm welcome. I'm so happy to be here, so happy to be back home, because this is my home city, and I'm always happy when I'm here. And especially after the least few weeks of intensive diplomatic engagement, marked by several trips back and forth between Bern and New York because of the UN Security Council, as you know, that we are chaired last October. Dear students, dear young people from the Middle East, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Since January 23, Switzerland has served for the first time as an elected member, non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, with a term finishing at the end of this year. And last month, as I already said, we held our second presidency of the Council. After chairing the Council's Middle East debate last week in New York as president, I went to Montreal for a conference on the human dimension of the Ukraine war. These multilateral discussions are taking place against a concerning global backdrop with over 120 ongoing armed conflicts worldwide. So maybe you may ask, why are we having so many discussions sitting in comfortable rooms when millions of people need humanitarian aid and protection? What do these diplomatic efforts tell us in such an alarming context? Well, I firmly believe that we must maintain dialogue until the weapons have been silenced. I will repeat it for as long as necessary. International law, particularly international humanitarian law, must be respected. We must continue to work together for peace, for security, for our common humanity. But of course, we have to work for, but above all, despite the escalating violence in the Middle East, despite the third winter of war in Ukraine, despite the decades of violence in Yemen and Sudan, and so on for many other despites. Also despite the inability of the United Nations and multilateral forums to avoid the violence or put an end to it. Despite the worsening polarization between standpoints I saw on my recent trips. And despite our own physical and sometimes emotional fatigue. Yes, it happens sometimes we are even discouraged. But we must not give up. We, the government representative in office, of course, but also you, the future leaders of these world. A world we would like to see become a much better place, but which, despite all our efforts, is veering towards hatred and violence. Let us forget the despites and focus on the force. Dear young change makers, over the past few days here in Lugano, you've been discussing the state of the world, especially the situation in the Middle East, of course, with the aim of bringing new ideas to the discussion for the benefit of the most vulnerable people in the region. At the same time, what you have experienced as a simulation of a mediation process is, for Qatar, for Egypt, for the US, a hard daily reality. And what about Switzerland? Switzerland, our country, has been representing US interest in Iran since 1980. The protecting power mandate did and can support de-escalation in the region. Alongside the Israelis, the Palestinians, and the countries of the region, Switzerland is ready to play its part in this difficult but essential peace process. I firmly believe that peace and security in the Middle East can only be achieved through political means, and the two-state solution remains the only practical path to lasting peace, according to our eyes in Switzerland. This is the reason why Switzerland participated in the launch in New York and in the first follow-up meeting of the Global Alliance for the Implementation of the Two-State Solution in Riyadh last week. Switzerland has proposed a cluster on youth and reconciliation. With the MEM experience, we have the ideal platform for that. With its 7 editions, the MEM Summit has proven its capacity to bring people together, foster dialogue and the exchange of ideas, form lasting networks, and encourage reconciliation within the next generation. Your ability to mobilize, to imagine new possibilities, and to build bridges where others see only walls. In fact, despite the walls, this is what we all need. You are not just the leaders of tomorrow, you are the catalysts for change today. Ladies and gentlemen, signora rettrice dell'università, dear young participants to this MEM Summit of this year. Last year, I called on the young participants, your predecessors here, to challenge their ideas and to learn to disagree. Today, I want to encourage you to embrace a dialogue with open minds, to listen carefully to one another, and to approach each conversation with a willingness to compromise. Thank you for inviting me this evening. Enjoy your stay in Lugano, in Switzerland, but above all, I wish you fruitful discussions and fruitful networking tomorrow here at the USI. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Grazie mille, Consigliere Federale, for this wonderful and encouraging keynote speech, and very happy to have somebody from Lugano with this open mind out to the world.